It's Monday, December 13th, 2021. Before we start the video today, I just want to let everybody know, be very cautious down below in the comment section as we are nearing Christmas. There's a lot of scam artists out there, and these scammers, these bots have been hitting multiple channels, and they're using my face or they're using faces of other YouTubers on their channels in the comments to get them to WhatsApp them, to get them to buy crypto, and just flat out try and scam them. I'm never going to tell you to WhatsApp me. I'm never going to give you my personal phone number. I'm not going to go in the comments and tell you to use my money manager or to call this guy or that guy to invest in anything. So beware. There are scammers down below. Ignore them. It's been happening for well over a year to a lot of channels. So I just want to come back out because I've noticed that as we near Christmas, they are really in full force. So beware of scammers. Ignore them. I want to get right into this video today. Let's talk about some very, very important things. First off, I want to share with you, I was out at my local mall today, which used to be the Westfield Mall, which is in foreclosure, defaulted on a $125 million loan. And we were at the mall, and I don't know about what it looks like in your part of the country where you shop. It may be very, very busy, but what are we out? About 10 days, 12 days from Christmas. The mall was literally, in my opinion, quiet today. It looked like an average day at the mall, in all honesty. I could not believe, being less than 2 weeks away from Christmas, the amount of people at the mall. And many of these people, the majority, not carrying packages. More people just walking around because they probably have nothing else to do. And there was nobody in the stores, mostly just people walking around the mall without packages. And when I looked in to the stores, you're lucky if you saw one or two people on average in a store. So let me know in the comments down below, what are you seeing in your area, your malls, your shopping centers? Is it busy? I've seen some videos where people say it's been busy, and some people saying it's not that busy. I can tell you out here, my local mall, which is in big trouble, by the way, not busy at all. Typically at this time of year, when you go to a mall, it is bumper to bumper people. When you think about it, less than 2 weeks, people now are really trying to get their Christmas shopping done, and the malls are typically very, very busy. Not in this case. So let me know in the comments down below. I want to share a very, very good article with all of you from The Hedge today. It's titled "Assume Crash Positions." This was a very fascinating article, and I think it's dead on, and it is telling us what is happening right now, what is going to happen. If you get a second, pull this article up, Assume the Crash Positions. A very, very good article. The stock market has ticked every box for a bubble. Retail investors, which is the dumb money, are all in, buying the dip with absolute confidence. The pain of the last bubble bursting has faded and been replaced by greed as everyone gambles with abandonment at the casino's trendy tables. They're gambling on crypto, NFTs, megatech, EVs, uranium, etc., you name it. And so I'm going to continue just to go through this article and paraphrase, but this article really, really explains what's going on, and we're going to see the end game, ladies and gentlemen. These are all can't lose bets. This is what people think today. They can't lose. The markets don't go down. If they do, everybody buys the dip, they come back. If there's real trouble, the Fed will just step in and save the day. So people are going all in because they're gambling on these can't lose bets. Retail investors have discovered the power of the herd. If the herd all buys call options by the thousands, this forces market makers to buy the underlying stocks, pushing the prices higher in a self-reinforcing feedback loop that is guaranteed to succeed. And this article continues to explain the warning signs here. This is what it's doing. These are the warning signs. These are the things we're watching take place. And this is typical of a bubble and typical of what happens before a bubble bursts. Insiders, AKA the smart money, are selling with unprecedented enthusiasm. The smart money tells you the future is great while they are dumping their own shares, and the dumb money buys it all up. So these are the people that tell you that everything's heading in a positive direction. The economy is improving. The economy is doing well. The consumer's strong. You should be out buying a house. You should be buying stocks. You should be in Wall Street right now buying their shares as they're dumping them. The smart money is dumping. The dumb money is buying these dips, and the dumb money is going to be holding the bag when this whole thing collapses. The market is dependent on the fabulous five: Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, while 80% of stocks are falling. Think about that. This whole thing is dependent on five big players. Here's another warning. Buy the dip euphoria continues. As market internals weaken and extremes of risk are ignored, you know we're getting very, very close. When gamblers are putting all their capital on the table and boosting the bets with margin and leverage, the dumb money is all in. Not only do they not have any cash left, their sky-high margin debt guarantees even a modest dip will result in margin calls and forced selling. The momentum reverses from bullish to bearish, and that begets more selling. And there are not going to be enough exits for these people to run to when the selling begins. Who's going to buy this mess, ladies and gentlemen, when the selling really begins? The fear that people are going to have when they begin to realize what is happening, how they've been bamboozled, how they've been fooled, thinking that this was going to go on forever. These people are not prepared for the shock that is going to take place on Wall Street. Timing is everything in a crash. Hell is the truth seen too late, and it will be too late for so many people. So I wanted to share that with you today because, look, I know that there are people out there that have done very, very well gambling in these markets, and God bless you to all of you. But look, this is a rigged game. This is a massive bubble, and a lot of people are going to stay at the poker table a second too long, and many millions of people will be wiped out, and it is going to wipe out pensions and 401ks and money markets, and it's going to really do so much damage. And people are going to wonder how this could have happened. How long do you think bubbles can inflate before they burst? How long do you think you can print monopoly money to hold this whole thing up? It's gone on much too long, ladies and gentlemen, longer than anybody expected, longer than anybody anticipated. This thing should have burst years ago. Remember, we go back to 2008 when the damage really began. Nothing got fixed. They just papered over the mess with printed money, digits on a screen. And they continue to tell people to go out there and run up their credit cards, buy a house, buy a car, buy things with money they don't have, because they're telling you that everything's going to be okay. The economy is recovering when you know it's not recovering. This is the weakest economy that I've seen in my life. As I'm out today, people are in terrible health, okay? Their social skills are a disaster. People do not know how to communicate. You go to a store, you go to a restaurant, and people do not know how to communicate. And this is not to be critical or criticize anybody. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just being observant and just telling you what I'm seeing. Please feel free to tell me what you're seeing. But I've never seen people in such bad health. I've never seen people just so uptight and angry. People, ladies and gentlemen, look worried. They look worried. They might be out there walking around at the mall today. Maybe they're even spending money they don't have. They look worried. Most people do not look happy. And ask yourself, what is this going to look like when we start getting into the 5th, 6th, and 7th inning of this economic collapse. Fed loses control as consumers now expect 10% inflation for key staples. Consumers now expect prices for most key expenditures to rise by 10% in the coming year. This is what the average consumer is now expecting in 2022. They expect gasoline to rise 9.15%, food prices to rise 2.4%, medical costs to rise 9.6%, and the average consumer expects rent prices to rise next year 10.03%. And I'm talking to a couple very close friends in the last couple days, and we all ask ourselves, how are people doing this? My good friend Alan in Florida last night asked me, how are people doing this with kids? You know, how are they going out to eat? How are they doing this? I have no idea. I don't have the answer. Many of you ask the same thing. How's a family of 4, 5, 6? How are they doing this? How long can they hold on? My heart goes out to these people because I'm sure they're getting concerned. And there are people out there still oblivious, still naive to what's happening, but they're going to wake up very, very soon with what's coming. Here's another article from The Hedge today. The next catalyst for inflation: significant and persistent increases in labor costs. This is going to be another problem. Average hourly earnings have increased 5.9% in the past year, but still trail inflation by 100 basis points. So we are watching the damage from a massive amount of money being printed. In the last year, 20% of all cash was printed in the last year. Now we see these hourly increases taking place. We see the shortages at the port. This is going to continue to magnify the inflation problem. How much can you pay somebody to flip a burger before people can't afford to go to lunch and buy that burger? When people go to In-N-Out, it's still, I don't know, around $10, a little bit under $10 for a double fries and a Coke. But, what happens when that goes to 12? And there's other burger joints. I mean, the cost just to go out to a fast food restaurant now for lunch, easily now, most places is well over $10. If you have 2, 3, 4 kids, this begins to really take a toll. I cannot believe the cost of just going to a fast food restaurant. And the quality, we all know the quality has gone down, the service. Many places aren't even open. Their diners aren't open, drive-through only, because they don't have people to work in the diners. What is everybody doing? I guess they were all at the mall today walking around. I have no idea. 11.03 million job openings. Where is everybody at? What is everybody doing all day? I don't have the answer. Let me know. Comment down below. Morgan Stanley CEO Gorman calls for the Fed to raise interest rates soon. This was on CNBC today on an interview. He says this: Fed should raise rates soon to combat future downturn. He says, if I were the Fed, I would start moving sooner rather than later. And this is, I think, going to be a big problem. I think the Fed is waiting too long, and I think they're going to wait too long. I think there's a very good chance the Fed raises rates in March, but that's 3 months away. I mean, how much more damage will take place in the next 90 days? Where will inflation be in the next 90 days? And they're going to have to get ahead of this thing. And people go, well, maybe they'll raise it a quarter basis point. Maybe we'll see a couple rate hikes, half point each for the year. That's not going to do anything. We are getting into a very critical time here where it's looking like the early 80s with Paul Volcker, where they're going to have to take extreme measures. And I know, oh my goodness, we'll never be able to service the debt. If you don't get a hold of this thing right now, your dollar is going to be worth zero. We are heading into a Venezuela type era. if the Fed does not begin to act aggressively quickly. Is it possible that we could see real interest rates in America? I do believe it is possible. If they're telling you that inflation is 6.8%, well, then all probability you would have to raise interest rates above that 6.8%, or it's ineffective, correct? I mean, what is 1, 2, or 3% interest rates going to do if inflation is 6.8%, 7.8%, or 8.8%? They're going to have to get ahead of this, and they're going to have to do it aggressively. We saw a time in the early 80s, if you wanted to take a mortgage or apply for a mortgage on a home, it was nearly 17%. This is how aggressive Volcker had to get. Not saying that's going to happen, but could it happen? Should it happen? I think it's the only thing that can happen to prevent what is about to happen to our currency and to our economy. But they don't want to sacrifice or harm the stock market. They know as soon as they start raising rates at a real level that the stock market's done. It is done. But look, we are never going to get real valuation. We're never going to get a free market unless we have real interest rates. We need real interest rates to get some sort of control of these markets and this inflation. If we don't, we're going to have fake markets and fake money, and this illusion is going to get absolutely out of control. And you're going to be living in a world that is going to be very, very dangerous. I want to close with this last article. Somebody sent this to me last night. Prepper Trucker sent this to me last night. Central Freight Lines trucking company to close after years of losses. Now, I don't know if it was fuel prices, labor costs, if it was insurance, maintenance, all those type of fees, but another trucking company closes. Another U.S. company closes. Based out of Waco, Texas, employs 1,325 drivers. It announced it has ceased picking up shipments. After 96 years of business, ladies and gentlemen, they're closing their doors. 1,602 power units. They generated $262 million in revenue in its most recent fiscal year. They incurred $67 million in losses last year, $250 million in losses in the past few years. Again, so much regulation in trucking, labor costs, fuel prices, maintenance. It goes on and on and on. And it's so hard to run a company here in the U.S. So multiple reasons of why they went down. And so here we are where we're hearing about the trucking industry, how busy it is, and yet trucking companies are going out of business. The restrictions and regulations are just strangling so many businesses here in the U.S. So I want to thank Prepper Trucker for that article. It's a sign of the times. It's very unfortunate, especially when you have a company that's been in the U.S. for 96 years. That's just an iconic U.S. company that is gone, disappearing, never coming back. And that is really a shame. So anyways, I just wanted to share some of these articles with you today. Let me know, what's the holiday season shopping looking like at your retailers, your malls, your shopping centers? Is it busy? Is it the same as last year? I could tell you it looks much slower than it did last year. So let me know what it's looking like in your area. It looks like some areas are doing very, very well, and some areas are not. But again, my mall, which used to be the Westfield Mall, they took the sign down because it is now defaulted on a $125 million loan, and it is in foreclosure. That should tell you something. And 25% of the stores in the mall are also gone. So what does this all look like in 2022? I'll tell you what, there'll be less stores. In fact, I don't even know if my mall even has another year left. It'll be closed at some point. I think that it's on borrowed time also, and it'll probably be another vacant mall here in America, and that means hundreds of people won't have a job. Millions of dollars in tax revenue for the city of Palm Desert will disappear. It will be a giant eyesore. And so we'll see how it plays out, but I don't think it has that much time, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, and it'll be gone. And that's really, really a shame You know, it really, really is. And I really, really pray that things turn around. But I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, 2022, you better get ready because the news is not good. When you start connecting the dots and you start looking at the data, and when you use your own two eyes and go out there and walk around and you see the faces like I do, you see a very unhealthy group of people, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially walking around. And they are going to be absolutely annihilated during this collapse. They are not prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, or financially for what is coming. You better have all your bases covered. Because if you think it's bad now, you have not seen anything yet. Get ready, get prepared, and God bless.